Want to tell you something very interesting that happened to me while I was experiencing the process in terms of, let's say, the material on my work, the material on this channel. I want to share with you something very remarkable actually. If you are in such a position where you are able to really be out of the system's grasp, let's say you're in the position where you literally are operating within it and but you are not living in it or living with it, but you are existing. You are essentially living within a realm that is based on carbon, based on the realm that operates in organic matter or material. I want to say materialistic. Then I refer to it in context to what I'm saying in the next passage, that the realm is organic as well as material, as well as living, or it has organic living energy in it. It is alive for all purposes. When I say the realm, I'm talking about, if you want to use a term, the place you live, your reality, the realm. And I then want to bring into you the understanding of the fact that, as I've said before, and I'm going to say it again, it's got nothing to do whether the earth is round, flat, square, petri dish, whatever. It's not up for, it doesn't feature in this discussion. What features in this discussion is something much more profound than just the basic observations. And we won't be going into explaining the shape of things either. I want to explain the system in another way for you. I want to refer to you or refer to it as something that is based on a type of metamorphic element. It has a metamorphic aspect to it. And its metamorphic aspect is based on all the many think tanks that have been contributing through rituals and whatnot, all kinds of bad goodies that they've added in so that the system would essentially function the way that they would want it to function. And yes, definitely, guaranteed 100% that it does have a magic aspect to it, because it's been propagated through many religions, it's been propagated through many seances where the dead have come back and have reviewed and said, you know, it really does appear to look like we're entering through curtains or doorway or a passage or a tunnel. So there is a point of entry and exit. You have to use your common sense in that regard. And so when you look at that aspect, I want to say that I've experienced something quite interesting, quite intriguing actually, is a place of transitioning. And airports are transitory points where people are constantly in a flux. And we had gone through the airport to go somewhere, and every time that I'd gone through the gates, I was signaled, I was beeped. There was nothing, and all the things that I thought could be a problem I had discarded. I had gotten rid of it, but I would beep. And at some place I would not beep, and then I would beep again. And I thought to myself, you know, this is quite interesting, because it reminds me of the fact that the transitory element in this realm does track elements or entities that are not of the system, not present. The machines pick it up. The artificial intelligence does pick up on elements that do not belong to the system itself. And that was my experience to see how things really happened. I didn't plan for it, and I didn't certainly not tasted it for that aspect, for that process. It really just happened by itself. We needed to go from point A to point B, and that is what we needed to do, to go there. And as we were flying, the same sort of thing happened as well. The same strange sort of transitory sense of feeling in the air, where you feel the air around the machine that you're in. It's like driving in a car. The same sort of thing happens. You feel like you're almost not in the car. You see, like I said, when I do this, I test it to the nth, to the absolute nth, to the last iota, so that I'm able to process the entire experience and to also just share it with you. And so we need to look at how the system is formed. I bring it back in because I want you to take note that many heads, many think tanks, many brains, many empty brains, many empty-hearted, many cold hearts, many whatever you want to call it, parasites, have contributed to try and bring into the system a sense of pattern, a pattern of its existence, of their own recognition, of their own kind, of their own abilities. Like John Dee, for example, to bring him back in, he used Solomonic magic because it was then known to be the most powerful magic that ever existed. And it really is based on a grid system with magical sigils for 365 names of demons that exist within the realm. These are belief systems of that particular belief, of that faith, of that practice. And they inscribed on each block, on each grid, they created a magic square. And the magic square, no matter how you looked at it, could really essentially be manipulated to present something, almost like a calculator, almost like a computer, if you wanted to look at it that way. And perhaps the drive towards the recreation of the system itself is to really bring in a type of artificial flair to that specific frequency of the system itself. I mean, initially it had existed prior to this knowledge, to knowledge that has gone before, to man's normal knowledge, or the knowledge that was acquired through study and philosophy, that it had essentially existed as gods. And so the gods had transformed through the minds of man, or men in plural, means humans, all humans, to become something of a more physiological existence. And so then we know that that is called egregores as well, including the statues that were made of the gods. And we've then also noticed that through mythologies that those particular gods all had human characteristics. Because why not? Because isn't it when you look at something that it looks back at you that you would want to then experience perhaps a version of yourself as it plays out to you? I'm talking about narcissism as well. I'm using examples as they come to me. And you may wonder to yourself, you may ask, so why did it actually signal me? Well, I'm saying to you, I think that it's because the system does not know how to process something that is of a spirited presence. It does not know how to not allow it. It does not know how to comprehend it. AI does not have a sense to understand what is presented to it. So it would present itself, it would present you or represent you as an anomaly. And In the same way, we could look at how the system has been developed. Like I've said, it started with gods, and then it became uh, religions, and then it became psychologies, and then it became uh, companies, and then it became institutes, and then it became governments, and then it became whatever it became, you know. And these things have all been part of the same thing, the same entity, the same. I'm calling it an entity, but I'm not saying it's an entity that's got 8 legs and crawls on the wall. I'm not calling it that. I'm saying it's an entity that exists as a type of parasitic influence over the actual organic realm. And in the same way, you look at how you are existing, who you are. If you go into yourself, when I say go into yourself, and there are many ways to do this, is you simply close your eyes and you start to think. And you allow your thoughts to really process the findings that you have, what you experience, how you experience it. Why do you feel you think in this way when this happens? Why do you feel you've reacted in such a way when that's happened? I'm saying think. Go into your thoughts and think deeply on your inner reality. When you analyze yourself, you explore the inner reality or the inner kingdom. If the kingdom is within and war is in the kingdom, where is war? Is it not just also within? Is the war within not just simply a reflection of how the outer world corresponds to you? And so we need to look at the realm with the system as it stands. As I've said, I've called it a cataract. That's something that has blinded people to become delusional, to become stuck in the illusion of the deluge, of the demiurge, however you want to call it. And I'm not going to go and give studies and lectures on Gnosticism either. I think it's overrated anyway. It's been very heavily used to be the form of the basis of the system itself. And so, aside from the fact that you are experiencing these delusions and illusions and things, the more you become emotionally trapped by these issues, these things that are being propagated into the world for you to believe in. And so you are at the end of the day, you sit still and you think, what have I actually achieved? What have I experienced? What was the point? And you find yourself questioning more things. And as you get to that place where you start questioning and wondering, and you feel like you don't get answers, because you get 110 million answers, of course. All of the answers that are specifically not related to what's inside. That is also part of how the system tries to then bring you back into its functionality. Now, as I've said, I've jumped around a few times, and I've said that this was created or brought into place by some who had the agenda of wanting to create a world in the same way as the original creator had created, and their creation is flawed. Their creation is false in the way that they are presenting it, yet they have been nurturing it with your creative power, with what you feed it, because you've bought into it, because you buy into it. It is possible, and as I've said before, and I'll say it again, it is possible to exist within this world and all of its systems put to place without becoming swallowed up by it. You can. And this is why I have been showing people how to do that on a specific group. And It's hard work. You can ask each and every one of them if you ever had the chance to ask each person, how have you found this? And people will answer. It was difficult. It was very difficult. But now that I know how the path works, I'm able to manage it, to control it, to handle it. And so we have to look then what happens to when you pass away in this realm, when you literally pass over. Where will you be? And I can say that where you pass on or go towards would be a realm that would be of how and in what way you have chosen it to be for you. Depends on how you want to be. The essence of your spirit goes back to its original form, which is an original uncreated creator, which many people seem to get confused with if you have to bring Christianity in or some pagan belief in or something of whatever religion. It is not of any religion. Religions were created as part of the systems. Yes, religions have, and so do schools. I have to be very honest here and say if the school didn't teach you how to write and read, you would not have known how to do that, right? If your parents didn't teach you how to read and write, then, that was important, is what I'm saying. I'm not hammering anything into pieces or shooting anything down at all. I'm having a casual conversation with you. And certain churches have have good aspects to them or certain religions have good aspects to them where you've learned to think a little bit further than just what you have been experiencing. I'm talking about kindness. But these things, if you've never experienced kindness, you'll find it in places that you may need to experience so that you learn what it's all about. And if you progress and grow and you move away from the church, then so be it. That is what happens for you. That is what happened. That is what happens to people. People progress. People grow forward, grow up. People mature. And so I'm leaving this with you to think on and to ponder over. Really just a little slice of my thoughts, a slice of the pie, if you want to put it that way. And it's quite an interesting experience so far. So I will tell you this, though, that whatever you believe in is what you will create for yourself. If you choose to be in a space where there's zero belief and there is only what exists as is, as true, that places you above the things that you may have struggled with. But it takes a lot of energy and a lot of effort to get to that place. It takes a lot of skill to be mindful of who you are at any given point in time. Because once you are able to understand who you are, and how do you do that? You find out who you are by addressing yourself in your thoughts. You start to think. That is all it is. It is as simple as that. And the more questions you have, the more you write them down, the more you let them sit there, the more you'll be able to eventually answer them yourself.